He is the only man in the history of cinema to win back-to-back Academy Awards for Best Actor. Anywhere on Earth, people smile when they hear his name. Not the polite smile reserved for celebrities, something softer, something almost personal, as if they've always known him, as if he's always been there. But there is a question no one seems willing to ask. Who is the man that actually exists behind all of that? Because behind the charm that disarms every journalist in the room, behind the voice that warmed generations, and behind the image Hollywood constructed with such extraordinary care, there is a childhood so fractured that most people never knew it happened. There is a loneliness so deep that no level of fame was ever able to erase it. There is a body that eventually began collecting on decades of sacrifice. And there is a vulnerability so carefully concealed that even those closest to him sometimes forgot it was there. The man the world thinks it knows may be the greatest illusion Hollywood has ever produced. How does a boy who lived in 10 different houses before the age of 10 become the most beloved figure on the planet? What does a body subjected to extreme physical transformations year after year eventually present as a bill? What does a pandemic reveal about a man when every layer of armor is stripped away? And what or who actually held this man together in the moments he came closest to losing himself entirely? To answer that, we need to go back to the beginning. To a California of the 1960s, to a family that broke apart without warning, and to a 5-year-old boy who learned in the hardest way possible that the people we trust the most are often the first ones to leave. Tom Hanks was born on July 9, 1956 in Concord, California, a date that meant nothing to the world then, a name that meant nothing to anyone outside a small fractured household, where love was present in theory, but absent in practice. He was the third of 4 children born to Amos Hanks, a cook who drifted between jobs and kitchens and dreams that never quite materialized, and Janet Marilyn Frager, a woman who carried her own quiet wounds beneath a composed exterior. On the surface, it looked like an ordinary American family. Behind the door, it was anything but. When Tom was 5 years old, his parents divorced. Not the kind of divorce that is explained to children with gentleness and reassurance, the kind that simply happens around them like weather. One morning the family was whole. Then it was not. Oh, his mother took his older brother Larry and his sister Sandra and built a new life elsewhere. Tom and his younger brother Jim were left behind with their father. Not out of cruelty necessarily, but the effect on a 5-year-old boy is the same regardless of intention. His mother was gone, and no explanation given to a child that age is ever enough to fill that absence. What followed was not a childhood. It was a sequence of relocations. Amos Hanks remarried, then divorced again, then remarried once more. By the time Tom was 10, he had lived in 10 different homes across Northern California, 10 different bedrooms, 10 different schools, 10 different sets of faces that never became friends before the boxes were packed again. He was, as he would later describe himself, a loner, not by choice, by circumstance, by the relentless uprooting that made attachment feel dangerous, because everything he attached to was eventually taken away. Each new stepmother brought new rules, new expectations, new emotional climates that a child had no map for. Some were kind, some were indifferent. One, Frances Wong, who became his father's third wife, was by most accounts a warm presence. But warmth offered by a stranger, however real, cannot replace the particular warmth of a mother who stays. Tom learned early that the world was not a reliable place, that the people who were supposed to remain left, that love was provisional, that home was a temporary arrangement. School offered no anchor. How could it when the school itself changed every year or two? He was the new kid so many times that newness itself became his identity. He didn't belong to cliques or sports teams or the easy social webs that children build when they grow up rooted in one place. He belonged to himself and to books and to the strange, consuming refuge of movies. The cinema became his first real home. Sitting in the dark, watching characters live fully, love completely, and suffer in ways that somehow made suffering feel meaningful. It was the first place Tom Hanks ever felt understood, not by a person, but by a screen, by stories told by people who had figured out how to turn pain into something an audience could recognize and share. He absorbed films the way other kids absorbed friendships, deeply, hungrily, with the specific desperation of someone who had few other sources of nourishment. He was not a remarkable student. He was not a troublemaker. He was, in the cruelest sense, simply unremarkable, present but unnoticed, quiet in the way that quiet children are quiet, not from contentment, but from the learned understanding that noise rarely produces anything worth having. Teachers did not remember him. Classmates barely knew his name. He moved through corridors and classrooms and lunch halls like a shadow with good intentions, affecting nothing, noticed by no one. What no one saw, what no one even thought to look for, was the interior life burning beneath that silence. The observations he was making, the voices he was collecting, the way he watched people with the sharp focus of someone who had learned that understanding others was the safest substitute for being understood himself. Every stepmother's gesture, every father's silence at dinner, every classmate's cruelty, and every teacher's indifference. Yeah, he stored all of it, without even realizing it, with the discipline of someone who would one day need every single piece. He would need it on stages, on sets, in the terrifying, electric space between action and cut, where the only currency that matters is the truth of a human moment. But that was still years away. In those years, Tom Hanks was just a boy who had learned to need very little, because needing too much had always ended in loss. A boy who discovered in the blue glow of movie theaters and the silence of rooms that kept changing that stories were the one thing no one could pack into a box and take away. That discovery would one day change everything. But first, it would cost him years of invisibility that left marks no camera would ever fully capture. It was a drama class at Shabbat College in Hayward, California that first cracked open the door. Tom Hanks was 17 years old, restless in the way teenagers are restless when they feel something inside them that the world around them has no label for. He had no plan, no clear vision, no big ambition shaped into a goal. He just walked into a theater class one afternoon and, man, for the first time in his life, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The stage did something to him that nothing else had ever done. It gave him permission to become other people, to try different voices, to be seen not as the quiet, displaced boy who had bounced through homes and schools like unclaimed luggage, but as someone worth watching. The applause was small, just a classroom, a few students, a professor who barely knew his name. But to a boy who had spent his whole childhood being invisible, even that tiny recognition felt huge, like a wave crashing in his chest. He transferred to California State University in Sacramento, pulled deeper into theater, deeper into the thrilling, terrifying promise of performance. But college was not the destination. It was the runway. In 1977, at 21 years old, Tom Hanks did what young actors with more courage than common sense do. He left. He drove to Cleveland, Ohio, where he had landed an internship at the Great Lakes Theater Festival, stepping into the professional world of theater with almost nothing in his pockets and no safety net. Cleveland was not glamorous. The Great Lakes Theater Festival was not Broadway. The roles were small, the pay almost nothing, and the living conditions, yeah, the kind that only look romantic years later. He slept on couches. He ate whatever he could afford. He watched older, more experienced actors work, studying them with the same quiet focus he once gave to movie screens as a kid. Every gesture noted, every technique absorbed. He was not the most talented person in any room, but he was without question the most attentive. It was in Cleveland that he met his first wife, Samantha Lewis, an actress and production associate. They married in 1978. Their son Colin was born the following year, followed by daughter Elizabeth. On paper, it looked hopeful, a young family, a working actor, a life being built with intention. Underneath, the cracks were already forming. But Tom was 22, barely an adult, suddenly responsible for a family, while still trying to figure out who he even was. The pressure was massive. The money was tight. And the emotional skills needed to sustain a marriage, the ability to stay, to be fully present, to let someone truly know you, were things a boy raised on relocation and temporary love had never learned. He loved Samantha. That was real. But love, he was discovering, is not enough when the people inside it are still becoming themselves, still digging through the damage of childhoods that left them unprepared for permanence. In 1980, a small role in a low-budget horror film called He Knows You're Alone gave him his first screen credit. Not exactly a glamorous start, and honestly, the film was forgettable. The role was tiny, but it led to a television audition that changed everything. The American Broadcasting Company was casting a new sitcom. The show was called Bosom Buddies, and the premise was wild. Two men dressed as women to live in an all-female residential hotel. Tom Hanks landed one of the lead roles. It ran for 2 seasons. It was never a massive hit. Critics treated it with mild affection, like something light and harmless. But it put his face on television screens across America. And one of those screens belonged to a director named Ron Howard, who was casting a film about mermaids, magic, and the terrifying vulnerability of falling in love. He saw something in Tom Hanks that the sitcom had barely even touched, something way deeper than comic timing, something raw and painfully human. That film was Splash. And the call that came after would close one chapter of Tom Hanks's life with a quiet, irreversible finality, and open another so huge and so bright that even he, standing right there at the edge of it, could not have imagined how big it would become. But between Cleveland and that phone call, there were years. Long, lean, uncertain years. Years of auditions that ended in silence. Of roles that almost happened and then just disappeared. Of a marriage struggling under the weight of 2 people who needed more than they even knew how to ask for. Of a young father watching his kids sleep and wondering, in the lonely stillness of 2 in the morning, whether any of this would ever turn into what he had once dared to dream about. Those years left no visible scars. Tom Hanks doesn't talk about them with bitterness or drama, but they're there, woven into every performance he has ever given, in every character who fights to hold on, in every man on screen reaching for something just out of reach and not even sure he deserves it. The boy from 10 Houses and No Home had learned to wait. He had learned to endure. And endurance, as it turned out, was the one talent no audition could measure and no rejection could ever take away. Splash opened in March of 1984, and the world laughed. Not that polite, fake kind of laughter people give when something is just okay, but real, unfiltered laughter from people who had just discovered someone they actually wanted to spend time with. Tom Hanks was charming in a way that looked effortless, which really meant he had worked his butt off for years to make it look that way. The film was a hit. And suddenly the quiet boy from 10 Houses and No Home had a face America recognized. What followed was a run of comedies that locked in his reputation as one of Hollywood's most dependable box office stars. The Money Pit, Nothing in Common, Dragnet. He was funny, warm, relatable, the everyday guy audiences rooted for because he felt like someone they might actually know. Hollywood was more than happy to keep him right there, in that safe lane of likable comedy where the risk was low and the money was predictable. But Tom Hanks wasn't built for safe lanes. In 1988, a film showed up that changed everything. Big wasn't just a comedy. It was a reflection on identity, on the craving to be taken seriously when the world refuses to see you that way, and on the quiet sadness of growing up before you're ready. Tom Hanks played a 12-year-old boy trapped inside a man's body, and what he gave wasn't just a performance. It was a revelation. Every move carried the real confusion of a kid trying to navigate a world meant for people he didn't yet understand how to become. Critics who had casually enjoyed his comedies suddenly paid attention. The Academy nominated him for Best Actor. He didn't win, but that nomination said something loud and clear. This man was way more than they thought. The early 90s brought personal chaos along with professional success. His marriage to Samantha Lewis, already strained by years of different ambitions and emotional distance neither of them knew how to fix, ended in divorce in 1987. The split was quiet by Hollywood standards, handled with the kind of restraint that would define Tom Hanks in every crisis. He didn't put his pain on display. He didn't turn it into drama. He carried it the only way he knew how, inward, silently, until it slowly turned into understanding instead of bitterness. In 1988, he married Rita Wilson, an actress he had met years earlier on a television set. Rita wasn't a rebound or some flashy Hollywood prize. She was, according to everyone who knew them, the person Tom Hanks had been waiting for his entire life. Someone who saw beyond the humor and the charm to the man underneath. The boy who had lived in 10 homes, who had learned not to need too much, who had built his whole emotional world around the belief that love never lasts. Rita didn't accept that. She stayed, and by staying, she gave him something his childhood had taught him never to expect: a permanent home in another person. That stability, quiet and not flashy at all from the outside, became the base for the most incredible decade of his career. In 1993, Andy Philadelphia arrived, and the world went silent. Tom Hanks played Andrew Beckett, a lawyer dying of AIDS at a time when the disease carried such heavy stigma that Hollywood mostly avoided it. He didn't keep a safe distance from the role. He disappeared into it. The weight loss, the physical decline, the quiet dignity of a man demanding to be seen as human in a world trying to look away. The performance was devastating in the way only real truth can be. The kind that makes people forget they're watching a movie and start feeling like they're witnessing something real. He won the Academy Award for Best Actor. He stood on that stage and spoke about his high school drama teacher and a friend lost to AIDS. And the room was completely still, not out of politeness, but because everyone felt that something genuine had just happened in a place where real moments are rare. 12 months later, Forrest Gump was released, and Tom Hanks won again, back to back. Something no actor had done since Spencer Tracy in 1937 and 1938. The numbers were insane. The cultural impact was massive. Forrest Gump made over $678 million worldwide, became part of everyday language, and turned a simple man running across America into one of the most powerful symbols of grace in modern cinema. But behind the wins, the speeches, the statues, and the magazine covers, something inside him was shifting. The higher Tom Hanks climbed, the more he understood the price. The privacy that had always protected him was fading. The quiet life he and Rita had built was being overwhelmed by fame so huge it pulled everything toward it. He had become, without really choosing it, a symbol. And symbols belong to everyone, which really means they belong to no one. And the man inside the symbol can disappear if he's not extremely careful about who he stays when the cameras are off. There's a special kind of loneliness that only the very famous know. It's not about empty rooms or silent phones. It's about always being surrounded by people who want something from you. Your time, your image, your presence. And slowly realizing none of them actually see you. They see the symbol. The two-time Oscar winner. America's sweetheart. The guy whose name alone sells tickets. Tom Hanks understood this, even if he rarely said it. You could hear it in interviews in the late 90s and early 2000s. Not arrogance. Not complaints. Just quiet exhaustion. A tiredness in the soul of someone who had been performing for so long that the line between the role and the real person started to blur. The movies he chose during this time weren't random. They were personal. Castaway in 2000 put him alone on an island, talking to nothing but a volleyball named Wilson. It was a huge risk. A major film built almost entirely around one actor. Hollywood thought it was crazy. Tom Hanks said yes anyway. What the movie captured, whether planned or not, felt deeply personal. A man stripped of everything. No applause. No identity. Just survival. Just the brutal question of who you are when no one is watching. The performance wasn't acting in the normal sense. It was digging deep. He lost 50 pounds to show Chuck Nolan's isolation. But the emotional truth went even deeper. There was something in his eyes, in the silence, that felt real. He had spoken, in rare moments, about a quiet sadness that had followed him since childhood. Not depression he could label, just a heaviness fame never fixed. The more the world loved Tom Hanks, the more he wondered which version of him they actually loved. The schedule during this decade was brutal. Saving Private Ryan in 1998. You've Got Mail also in 1998. The Green Mile in 1999. Castaway in 2000. Road to Perdition in 2002. Catch Me If You Can in 2002. The Terminal in 2004. Each role demanding everything. Each project draining energy that didn't fully come back before the next one. He moved from character to character with a discipline people admired and sometimes worried about. Those closest to him saw the cost. Not in breakdowns or public drama. Tom Hanks simply wasn't that guy. The cost showed up quietly. A tiredness behind the eyes after long press tours. A reluctance to go beyond surface conversations. A tendency, in unguarded moments, to pull back into himself. Rita saw it. She always had. The woman who gave him his first real home also knew when he was losing himself. She didn't force confessions or create big emotional scenes. She just stayed. Steady. Constant. The one fixed point in a life that had been unstable since childhood. He would say later, in one of those rare interviews where he actually let the curtain lift a little, that without Rita, he honestly had no clue what shape his life would have taken. And he wasn't being poetic or cute about it. No drama. Just straight facts. She stopped things from falling apart simply by refusing to walk away. That's it. But even Rita, strong as she was, couldn't quite reach the part of him that was starting to crack in ways neither of them fully got yet. The body, though? The body was keeping receipts. It always does. Years of nonstop grind. The physical makeovers for roles. The sleepless nights prepping. The never-ending global press circus. All of it stacking up, collecting interest. And when the bill finally showed up, it wasn't something discipline or willpower could just hustle away. Fame, Tom Hanks was learning, isn't some shiny prize. It's a deal. A straight-up transaction. The world hands you recognition, love, money beyond anything a kid bouncing between 10 homes could have dreamed of. And in exchange, it starts taking. Quiet at first, then hungrier. It takes your privacy, your anonymity, your ability to just walk into a room as a regular guy. It takes the years you might have slowed down, listened to your body and your mind when they whispered instead of screamed. It takes and takes and takes, like some cheerful machine that doesn't care what it's chewing on, as long as the output keeps rolling. Tom kept rolling because that's what he knew. The boy who survived 10 houses and 100 classrooms became the man who endured everything. Grief, loneliness, that slow fade of self that extreme fame can lay on you. And he did it with so much grace that people mistook the cost for character. But yeah, it was a cost, and it was adding up. In the silence between takes. In the hours after applause died down. In the body of a man carrying way more than any camera ever caught. There are love stories the world loves to sell itself. Big, cinematic, built for people who want to believe love crashes in like lightning and runs on pure feelings forever. And then there's the other kind. Quieter. The kind that doesn't photograph well because the real stuff happens in rooms no camera gets into. In talks no one records. In the daily, low-key choice to stay. No fireworks. Just decision. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson have that second kind. They met in 1981 on the set of a TV movie called Bosom Buddies. Rita had a guest role, so small most folks probably forgot it. Tom didn't. He noticed her the way you notice something important before you even know why it matters. But timing? Trash. He was still married to Samantha. Still the guy he was before the decade reshaped him. So the moment slid by, filed away in that quiet mental drawer labeled, "Not Yet." They crossed paths again in 1985 on the set of Volunteers. By then, everything had shifted. His marriage was quietly falling apart under the weight of two people who tried to build something permanent before they knew how. Rita, though, she was sharp. Funny. Grounded. Not naive. Not starstruck. Just solid. She grew up in a Greek-American family in Los Angeles, raised by a mother who survived things that would have broken most people. That resilience? Rita owned it. She didn't need Tom Hanks. And that right there? That was everything. They got married April 30th, 1988. Private ceremony. Small guest list. From day one, their marriage ran on rules Hollywood barely understood. Mutual respect. Shared humor. Protecting what they had from the industry machine grinding around them. Rita didn't turn into an accessory to his fame. She stayed fully herself. Her acting career kept going. Her friendships. Her interests. Her Greek heritage, which she embraced deeply, proudly, eventually converting to Greek Orthodoxy. Not for show. For real faith. Tom converted too. Not as some grand gesture for the cameras, but because he was willing to be changed by the woman he loved. Willing to see the world through her lens. To find new meaning there. They had two sons together. Chad, born in 1990. Truman, born in 1995. Along with Tom's older kids, Colin and Elizabeth, from his first marriage, the family that formed around them was, by all accounts from people close enough to see it, genuinely warm. Not that glossy, magazine-ready celebrity warmth. The real stuff. Messy. Imperfect. Sustaining. Colin Hanks became an actor. Elizabeth Hanks, a writer. Pichette stepped into the entertainment world. Truman carved his own lane, each shaped by parents who decided presence mattered more than image. Still, it wasn't all smooth. By the mid-90s, Tom's fame had exploded to a level where normal life was basically impossible. Losing anonymity is a weird, underrated kind of grief. He couldn't hit a grocery store, watch a school play, or grab dinner without the whole room shifting around him. Every public space turned into a performance, whether he signed up for it or not. Rita felt that too. She knew the exhaustion of being perceived instead of truly seen. of being recognized everywhere and known almost nowhere. What kept them solid, people close to them always say, was laughter. Not that polite, social laugh. The real, private, collapsing kind. The kind only people with real intimacy share. Tom said more than once that Rita could crack him up in moments that had zero business being funny. That shared absurd take on the world and all its fake hype was the invisible structure holding everything else up. He's also admitted, in those rare, honest moments, what she gave him that nothing else ever had: constancy. Bone-deep certainty she wasn't going anywhere. For a man whose first lessons about love were that it leaves, that moms go, that homes break, that people are unreliable by default, that wasn't small. That was foundation-level stuff. The answer to the question a 5-year-old boy had been asking since the morning his family split. Then 2020 hit. And that foundation got tested in a way neither of them saw coming. Not fame pressure. Not slow time wear. Something sudden. Brutal. A reminder that even the most carefully built life can get rocked by forces way bigger than you. They faced it together, like always. But it changed them. Quietly. Permanently. It reshaped how Tom sees time. Gratitude. The crazy preciousness of ordinary days. That part's another chapter. Here, what matters is what Rita Wilson is in the blueprint of Tom Hanks's life. Not just a wife. A correction. Proof, after decades of unconscious searching, that love doesn't have to be temporary. That home isn't always on a timer. That the boy who trained himself to need almost nothing could finally let himself need someone fully. And that the person he chose wouldn't flinch. Wouldn't fold. Wouldn't leave. In a life packed with huge wins and quiet heartbreaks, Rita Wilson is the achievement Tom Hanks talks about with the most open gratitude. Not the Oscars. Not the franchises. Not the cultural landmarks his films became. Her steadiness. The miracle, as he sees it, of finding someone who saw past all the noise, all the labels the world slapped on him, and stayed anyway. The boy from 10 Houses finally found one that sticks. In 2013, Tom Hanks sat across from David Letterman on late-night TV and said something no publicist would have written and no studio would have greenlit. He announced, calm and matter-of-fact like always, that he had type 2 diabetes. He'd been dealing with dangerously high blood sugar for years, he said. Decades, maybe. The warning signs were there long before anyone took them seriously. The public reacted with sympathy. The people who knew the whole backstory, more like recognition. Because this wasn't just medical news. It was the body's final invoice for the previous 20 years. The weight changes for roles had been wild. For Castaway, he dropped 50 pounds. For other films, he gained weight on purpose, reshaped himself to fit characters. No real thought about what it was doing long-term to the engine underneath. Hollywood called it dedication. His endocrinologist later would have called it something else. Every extreme weight swing stresses your metabolism in ways that build up quietly, invisibly, until you hit a point you can't just bounce back from. He owned that. Told Letterman his doctor had warned him years earlier that his blood sugar levels looked like a man speeding towards serious illness. And yeah, he didn't take it as seriously as he should have. Not with the urgency it deserved. The boy who had learned to handle discomfort without ever complaining grew up into a man who dealt with his body's warning signs the same way. Tough and patient, just brushing them off, working around them, and still showing up to perform, no matter what. But the diagnosis hit different, forcing him to face reality, changing his diet, staying consistent with monitoring, and building a real relationship with his own physical limits, something he could not keep putting off anymore. He adjusted because adapting was always his thing. Still, diabetes was not the final message his body had in store. In March of 2020, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson were in Australia, where he was getting ready for pre-production on a Baz Luhrmann film about Elvis Presley, when they tested positive for COVID-19. They were among the first major public figures in the world to share that they had tested positive. They did it with a public statement that was classic Tom Hanks. Calm, clear, a little dry humor in there, and absolutely zero self-pity. He explained their symptoms, said they were resting and following medical advice, and signed it with a typewriter emoji that the internet instantly loved. But behind that chill composure, the experience was honestly scary in ways that statement never fully showed. Tom Hanks was 63, already living with a metabolic condition that put him in a higher risk category at a time when the medical world was still scrambling to understand what this virus was really doing to vulnerable bodies. Rita became seriously ill, and Tom dealt with symptoms that stuck around in that stubborn way that later became known as typical of the virus. Those weeks in Australia, first isolated in a hospital and then in a rented house, far from everything familiar, stripped life down to its basics. It was not about fame, legacy, or unfinished movies. It was about survival, about waking up the next morning, about the nightly calls with their children, about lying in a strange bed in a strange country while an unpredictable illness quietly did its thing inside your body. They both recovered. They flew home. And Tom Hanks stepped back into the world the way he always did after hardship, low-key, no drama, looking like nothing had changed. But people paying attention noticed something. A stillness that had not been there before. A deeper focus, a real presence in conversations and interviews, like a man who had been reminded up close of exactly how much he could lose. His body had spoken twice now, through diabetes and through a virus that had briefly made his survival uncertain. He was finally listening. And what he heard in the quiet between doctor visits, monitoring, and careful management of a body that was not as resilient as it once was the same message life always gives when you are ready to hear it. Time is not unlimited. Ordinary days are not ordinary. And the things worth protecting are rarely the flashy ones. There is a kind of grief that fame cannot soften, that publicists cannot spin, that all the goodwill in the world cannot make easier. It comes when the people who knew you before the world labeled you, the people who loved you without conditions or proof, are just gone. Tom Hanks has lived that grief more than once. His father, Amos Hanks, the wandering cook who moved him through 10 homes, 2 stepmothers, and a life that never really felt stable, died in 1992. Their relationship had been complicated, not cruel, but shaped by absence disguised as presence. Tom did not talk much about his father's death in public, but those who understood his childhood knew what it meant. The approval he had always wanted was gone before it could ever fully happen. His mother, Janet, from whom he had been separated at age 5, and with whom the relationship never completely recovered that natural warmth early separation tends to break, died later. Another unfinished conversation, another door closed. But the loss that hit deepest and most publicly came in October of 2023, when news shocked the entertainment world. Matthew Perry was dead at 54, found in his home, gone suddenly, without warning, without the kind of story arc that grief needs to make sense of anything. Tom Hanks and Matthew Perry were not close in the usual way. But Perry represented something Tom, at 67, understood clearly. Fame takes its price from everyone. Perry had been one of the most famous faces on the planet for years. He made millions laugh with perfect timing that looked effortless. But under that, anyone paying attention could see the struggle he carried for years, quietly, then publicly, then quietly again. When the news came, Tom went still. Friends noticed. Not dramatic sadness, not performative grief, just quiet reflection. He held Rita a little longer that week. He called his children. He sat with the reminder that loss is not cruel, it is clarifying. It shows you what matters. By 2025, Tom Hanks is 68. He moves through life differently now. Not with the restless hunger of the young actor who once drove to Cleveland with nothing but courage and no backup plan. Not with the non-stop drive of the man who made film after film until his body forced him to slow down. Now he moves with intention, unhurried, shaped by experience. He still works. The passion is still there, but the reasons have changed. He does not pick projects for prestige or hype. He chooses stories that mean something, that take him somewhere new, that matter beyond the screen. At home in Los Angeles with Rita, mornings are slow. Diabetes management is routine now. Careful meals, steady monitoring, quiet discipline. His vision needs attention after decades of script reading in poor light. His back, shaped by years of demanding roles, reminds him on tough mornings that even strong bodies have limits. Recently, he has spoken about writing, about the private satisfaction of putting words on a page without pressure or expectations. His essays in 2023 revealed a thoughtful, curious, funny, and honest mind. Maybe the most real version of himself he has ever shown. He talks about his wealth with detachment. Security matters. Excess does not. His charitable work stays quiet but steady, supporting education, veterans, and democratic institutions. He gives because he believes in it, not because he wants applause. And Rita is still there, the anchor. After 37 years, their marriage, which Hollywood never fully believed in because it lacked drama, remains the most important part of his life. He says it plainly. She is the reason. She always was. The boy who lived in 10 houses finally found a home that lasts. Maybe that is the real story of Tom Hanks. Beyond awards, records, and legendary status, he endured. He made good choices. He loved deeply and was loved back. And in a world obsessed with spectacle, he built his greatest success quietly, in ordinary moments, in the simple and powerful miracle of a life truly lived.